episode, we're going to do Rupert Everett's years, and the different person today is yeah, anyway, well, we can start soon. I'll just, I'll prefer to... Gotta get this on. Yeah, alright. Cast somebody different. Okay. Right. I always sort of like start.
Yeah, it always seems quite natural and professional.
Okay. Alright.
So just do what you always do.
Alright. Hello and welcome to another episode of the BARROW Podcast. Today is another book episode. We're going to be looking at this one, Rupert Everett's Vanished Years. I kept calling it Vanished Dreams.
Well, I guess there are many dreams that have vanished as well.
Thematically, it should have been called Vanished Years, I think.
Vanished dreams, you mean?
Vanished Dreams, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, get it straight out of the way. As I said to you before, I feel a bit I was questioning my choices after you said, let's do a memoir. It is a memoir.
It is a memoir.
It's a celebrity memoir.
It's a celebrity memoir, yeah.
And, it kind of brings with it all of the things you would imagine a celebrity memoir would. Like a lot of narcissism.
A narcissism, yeah.
Potentially. But I do think there's something in this book. I've read it 3 times and I felt like the third time, which I was reading it in order to come and talk to you, I suppose I was reading it with a little bit more of a critical eye.
Yeah.
And I couldn't decide whether I thought it was really good or really bad. But, so I'm interested to hear what you think about it. But, yes, but back to your point. It should have been called Vanished Dreams because, he basically is using this memoir structure to tell you a bunch of vignettes, basically, that are not in any sequential time necessarily.
No, not at all.
And the subtext of those is always what I interpret it as. There's always something like, say, for instance, he tells a story about being friends with Madonna.
Yeah.
It's like, the subtext is, I was someone. I'm added, right?
Yeah. And
then he might tell a story about getting a pilot up in LA for some terrible, dreadful sounding sitcom. And it's sort of like, I tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like these kind of statements that...
The ambassador.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sounded terrible.
Which sounded terrible and which, that pilot has to be out there somewhere. I would love to see it. Right?
It did sound appalling.
Yeah.
And I will say this about him. He is pretty self-deprecating.
Massively so. Yeah.
But with this kind of ego still really driving things on.
Yeah. And I think that's actually what's interesting about it is obviously typically for the BARROW Podcast, we look at books that, are coming up for Mum and I and when I'm looking at books, I'm thinking what can we take out of it and that sort of thing. And so when I was reading this, I'm like, well, still same rules apply. I mean, some of the little blog pieces that I do on the Substack, it's I always go memoir, a good memoir does X, and with some of the ones we've done, it's they face hard truths or they explore self or whatever it happens to be. And I was like, this is... I don't know what the takeaway would be, but his perspective is really unique because he's simultaneously an insider and an outsider, and that kind of it brought up so many things. I mean, but to stay on that, I just found that really, really interesting the way he's positioned because he kind of has this, you said he's self-deprecating. He kind of has this attitude his career is this big bust. And I suppose, I suppose it is from a certain angle, but at the same time, I mean, I was also trying to do Rupert Everett hits in my head, and I'm like, is he 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
No, my best friend
with
Julia Roberts. I think that's kind of him sort of saying, I went to Hollywood and made this massive kind of rom-com with a massive star. It should have been a sort of set and forget. That's me. I'm done. My career is a shoe-in kind of thing. But it sort of didn't happen that way.
But yeah, because I'm also trying to think, because he was Inspector Gadget in the live action version of that, which I'm pretty sure I saw as a kid and really liked. He was in a movie I've never seen, but it's like a kind of a cult hit, like people bring it up all the time, Saint Trinians.
Yep.
So I've actually not seen that, but he's apparently awesome in that, and those films are really good.
They're really funny, and he plays the head mistress. He's in drag.
Yes, he's in drag the whole time.
Yeah. So he's really, really good in that.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I mean, it is a question, and I kept thinking it too. But I think largely for him, he feels like a failure but it's only by his own standards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's only so many leading male roles. Like, you can only be in like the crop. See, I always think of him. I actually, when I was reflecting, I kept inserting him into like roles that I think Ralph Fiennes was in. I thought he was in The Avengers, like the Avengers movie with Uma Thurman, but it's Uma Thurman and Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, it's Ralph Fiennes.
But he's in Importance of Being Earnest. That's great. And he recently played Oscar Wilde in a film that I think he made himself.
He did, yeah.
That is meant to be a great performance. I wanted to watch it before coming into this, but I didn't get around to it.
Yeah, he's great in that. I mean, he wrote that, directed it.
Yes, that's his vehicle, right?
And he was in the, most recently, I think he played Nelson in the Joaquin Phoenix film about...
Okay.
I can't remember his name. The French guy who puts his hand in Napoleon. Yeah, he's in it.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I love Napoleon, by the way. Like,
I liked it too.
I thought it was quite funny.
But I mean, he's sort of like, I don't know whether he's a fantastic actor. I actually started to think, why did I even read this book ever in the first place? How did I come about?
That's what I was
Rupert
going to ask you. Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I do remember he'd written a previous memoir.
Yes.
Called Red Carpets and Other Banana Skins, and I was working with the education department at the time, and somebody gave me this book and said, I've just read this, why don't you read it?
Oh, okay.
And I read it, and I thought, it was quite good fun.
Yeah.
And then I guess years later he puts this out, but he has written a couple of books of fiction. He's written this book, another couple of memoirs, one called The American No. He also wrote a memoir about making the film. The Happy Prince, about
the Oscar Wilde film.
Which is pretty good too, because, it's the same sort of, I mean, it actually is a lot less detached. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about with this book. Is like, there's this sort of detachment which I really like. There are parts of this book where he talks about his dad, taking his dad to Lourdes, though he was brought up Catholic, which in England is a whole thing, obviously. And ultimately at the end of the book, his dad dies. But there is this kind of detachment from it all. And I suppose it really feeds into what you're saying about that kind of insider-outsider thing. Yeah. He doesn't give you much.
He doesn't,
at all.
Yeah.
I mean, little bits.
Yeah.
Which I actually quite like. I mean, he tells the story about when his dad dies and how his mum's always sort of galloping around the house, and she runs upstairs to his dad's name Tony, and said, here, have a kipper or something, or a haddock or something for breakfast. You've got to keep eating or you're going to die.
Yeah.
And then she runs off back downstairs, and then his dad dies on his own. And it's quite poignant and quite kind of,
Yeah. He has these like really touching moments and then just kind of leaves them there. And like where it fits in with all the books that we've done so far on this program, it's like vignettes, obviously, and sort of like, slices of life and how you put them together. There are times when I'm like, they're kind of put together in sort of a clumsy way, but then in other ways I'm sort of like, I don't care either. Yeah. There's enough to sort of keep going with. Yeah. But, I mean, it depends what you're interested in. I mean, like if you like, so one of the reasons I wanted to do this, like you mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, let's do that, because we've never done a celebrity memoir before. Yeah. And I quite liked, because of what I just said, I liked Rupert Everett's positioning. Like, yeah, he's a celebrity, but it's like, is he like, you wouldn't really know him. Like he's an actor that you would mention and people would really struggle to place.
Yeah, I agree.
And I like that. I like artists who are like that.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, I know you do. And I think that that's related to maybe your choice. Like, I feel like there's something about his position that appeals to you. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, as you said at the beginning, like, undoubtedly he is successful, right? He's been in big films, he's had a career, he's written books, he's, by anyone's estimation, he's done well.
He's done really well, yeah.
Upper middle class family, like, there's not a great deal of trauma or anything going on really in this book, but he is an outsider. Like, he has maintained this kind of position within his own kind of profession where he's kind of not accepted.
And it's kind of all his own doing.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's right. What I found so interesting about him was, like, he has a disease, which I am also infected with, an inability to play the game. He can't, like, there's
even
a
when
point,
he tries to play
even when he tries to play a literal game, like, there's one of the funniest sections of the book, I think, is when he's on The Apprentice, right? Yep. And it's like the British Apprentice with Alan Sugar and all this, and he just he can't do it. Like, he cannot bring himself to join in, and then it gets to a point of utter anxiety in him, and he just breaks and literally flees the set. He runs away from the television show at a point when I think he needs exposure desperately. Like, he's always kind of needs, and he's torn between, and I really relate to this, being torn between really, really wanting that exposure and really desperately wanting to be, I guess, accepted by the approved class, the gatekeepers, and that. But then also just desperately not. It's like the Groucho Marx thing of, like, I don't want to belong to a club that would have me for a member. Like, I just can't do it, And so there is some kind of, it's funny because it's, you mentioned the word trauma. Like, what is, in all these memoirs, there's always some sort of, like, locus of trauma, like, that you go with. I mean, like, his sexuality perhaps, but, like, there is also, that's kind of not, I mean, he's fully embracing of that, and I don't think it's, like, such a big deal, but there's something about the Englishness of his upbringing, coupled with that thing in himself that won't allow him to go along.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come up with any kind of idea about the trauma, but, like, I did find myself kind of think about what's your motivation here? Like, you're telling us the story, you're dropping a lot of names, like, lots of people, and it's really interesting, and they're interesting people, and you've got these anecdotes, but there's always this detachment, and I did sort of wonder, pardon me, and I've lost my train of thought slightly here.
That's okay.
He had this, it's like this observing the world, and again about that detachment, and particularly when he talks about being a UN ambassador for HIV. So he visits, like, lots of different, I think he goes to Cambodia, he also goes to Russia, and it's all related to HIV and AIDS. And the outcome of those is that basically none of the money gets through. Nobody's being looked after. It's a complete farce. And he's sort of just standing back, and he makes the comment, like, soon I'll be off this train anyway because I don't have the cachet to be on it to make it important. But it's not a cause that he takes up. It's nothing. He's just sort of like, he's just observing his life the whole time. Or at least that's the way he puts it. The same with his family. He doesn't talk about his brother. His dad, he just sort of, he sort of quips. His dad's actually really funny. He's obviously got dementia and stuff, but he uses it. But so it's sort of like, it's almost as if, and this might be a bit sort of highfalutin for whether Rupert's actually thinking this, but it's like this sort of exhaustion with the world, isn't there, really? And an exhaustion with himself. Which I suppose that's what kind of you know, like he kind of annoys himself, but he also loves himself terribly. And it's like he can't escape. And I suppose that resonates with people. I mean, it probably resonates with me, but
the weariness is funny. And the, you know, like where it begins, where he's sort of just aimlessly walking around Jamaica trying to find a house that somebody told him about. It's sort of just like, what the fuck?
And then just randomly meets Anita Pallenberg, which is kind of like, are you making this up? Like, I think some of it is made up.
Yeah. You wonder, right? Like, I found, there are times, I mean, in terms of the celebrities that stand out, it's like none of the famous ones I care about. Like the ones that I really like, well, it depends on what's famous to you, but like, Pallenberg, Isabella Blow, who shows up at 7. Like those ones are really interesting to me. And he's always better when he's sort of like, kind of with his cast with an E, of celebrity, like where he's one of those people that like his celebrity is credible enough to get him through the door. Yeah. But then he's not the top, like once he's in the party, you know? Right. Like, and it's, and that's really funny. Like that's, you know, that's a good comedic, position, right? So in a way it's kind of special that he's actually contributed and written something. 'Cause like, there are not many celebrities who write A, their own memoirs, and B, several of them, and have this kind of sense of self-deprecation and you know, as you say, detachment that is, I mean, from a literary perspective, it is actually interesting. And I think that that's kind of what, I mean, certainly held it together for me. And I just find it funny. I mean, there's stuff that's just really, really funny in there. But I think he's also really tender with, one of the things that cropped up that I loved was like, you know, his recollection of school days as a boy, and the Pallenberg reference to, what's the film Performance with Mick Jagger and her, and just them, you know,
they're all going to they all need to go and masturbate or something.
They leave school
while watching the movie.
They leave school. They're at like a boarding school, private all boys boarding school, Catholic, and they sort of what's the word, wag. They take the day off and get on a bus and go into town, and they're all in like little trench coats, and they're going to go and masturbate in the cinema over various you know, new sort of edgy movies, and and then he sees Performance, and he you know, doesn't care about the masturbating. He's absolutely hooked on the thing, and then they're all back on the bus, and the other boys are like counting how many times they wanked, but you know, the film was shit.
That's right. Yeah,
I thought that was really, really funny.
It's. I mean, he is very funny, and like I think that's what surprised me about when I first read Banana Skins and Other Red Carpets and Other Banana Skins. It's like, actually, he's a really good writer. Like, you know, I mean, much better than I was expecting.
Oh yeah.
And I've read a few. Apparently, I have this kind of real, you know, affection for celebrity biographies, but I have read a few. And you know, he's funny. They are funny, and I think I like the milieu. Like I like the people that he talks about. You mentioned Isabella Blow. Like she's a really fascinating character, really tragic character. There's quite a good book written by her husband called Blow by Blow, which is not a memoir but a biography.
Yep.
So a lot, you know, there are a lot of people that come in and out of those stories, and if you suspend disbelief, which I think you kind of have to, because you know, chronology doesn't kind of work, and it's all sort of very synchronous, and there are so many coincidences, which is obviously a device that he's, you know, but you kind of let it go. I mean, it's a sort of fun ride, and I think it's only fun because of that detachment, because of that kind of ennui, and you know, he's not sort of holding up this wonderful sort of celebrity life that he had. It's a little bit tatty, it's a little bit tawdry, and in a very kind of British way, which I think,
definitely,
kind of, you know, ultimately is, I don't know, you kind of appreciate it more than, you know, an American kind of.
Yeah. No, for sure. I get what you're saying. I mean, I guess it brings up this idea about and where it kind of relates to memoir writing and sort of our lives generally is like, I mean, Everett's an actor and he's very aware that I mean he even says directly. I highlighted a passage, but I won't bother bringing it back up. But he basically says like, I don't know where the line ends between me and a character that I'm playing in my own life, and my own life has become this film that I'm acting in.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a fairly common thing that people say, but like in terms of locating like a position to write from, like who are you as a character? And do you what character are you in your life? I think that's something to think about. Like, because I mean, do you want to say anything about that? Or
no? I'm waiting for your next question.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, you probably don't want to get too personal.
Well, this isn't about me, Charlie. This is about Rupert Everett's
memoir. Okay, all right. Well, I do have to ask you one question though. That is, you have an obsession with celebrity biographies.
No, I don't.
Read again.
Yeah, that one.
What's going on with that?
So that is, it's not a, well, I wouldn't, it is a biography. So I had this kind of, I wouldn't call it an obsession type necessarily, but I did read and reread. I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a biography of Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's probably the same thing. I was never even really that much of a fan of Queen. I just really liked that biography for some reason. I don't know why. And indeed with this one, I've read that one 3 times as well. But I don't know, I haven't really sort of examined why I really like the Freddie Mercury one. I like him as a character, I suppose.
Yeah.
Kind of a fascinating character. A bit, actually, he's not like Rupert Everett at all. He's not. Freddie Mercury was not that kind of detached. But, he's much more sort of larger than life. But, I don't know, this is sort of kind of resignation about Freddie that I quite liked. Or this kind of hiddenness, probably about his homosexuality, which Rupert doesn't really have. Like, he's like, it's all just out there. It's not really an issue in the book at all. But yeah, I don't know why I read and reread that particular biography, but thank you for pointing it out, Toby. Would you like me to recommend some other celebrity memoirs?
Well, I find it interesting that you read these accounts, because there's something about, I don't know what it is for you, but I think I can sort of see it. I just can't quite identify it. Like, there's something about these accounts of life that work. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about reading about places that you were never going to be, for starters.
Right.
I mean, because these are all largely history, right? And I mean, with the Rupert Everett thing, like I said before, it was a period of time in England, him growing up. I was really interested in that. It came after me. He's obviously much older than me. But, it's a period of history and music and writing that I found really interesting. And I suppose it's kind of like a little snapshot into that. And he sort of name drops people. Not super, like, maybe John Maybury and, as you said, Isabel Blow, they're people that interest me. And so when you kind of, I suppose it's like following a little kind of trail about finding information about people. And when I was growing up, I grew up in rural Victoria, and if you wanted to read a magazine, an interesting magazine, like, say, Face or Interview or NME even, so we're talking like British magazines, you had to order it and it would come and it would be 6 weeks old, right? But then you'd be finding these little tidbits of information, right? And you might want to then go and buy a record that you'd also have to order and take, So I think it's probably a hangover from that, it's kind of like, it's like this kind of archaeology that kind of, which I could do on the internet, I suppose, but because again, that wasn't really how I was kind of raised, I suppose, I don't know. I find, I think it's like a window into a period of time, and a group of people that I feel some affinity towards, even though I have absolutely no association with them.
Yeah,
which is absurd.
No, it's not absurd. I get that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and I think that, you know, I mean, that's maybe what memoir does offer to readers generally.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're like a massive super fan. Right?
Yeah.
Which I don't really kind of approach them like that.
No, I don't
just
either. Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of, like, I've read it, you know, not, I mean, getting off memoirs or getting off biographies, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I often buy books at the op shop, which of course means you don't get to choose, but then you are choosing, but only from a very narrow field.
Yeah.
So you do end up reading things that you might not otherwise have read.
Yeah. No, I like that.
But I do definitely, and I have since I read the first Rupert Everett, I've always sort of read, he has a new book coming out, I'll always read it because I feel like I know kind of what I'm getting, I'm kind of interested. I know that he actually is quite an interesting reader. He has a very, writer. He has this detachment that I really like, and, you know, he has an interesting position in his own life, you know, and he tries, you know.
He tries. I agree with that. He does actually try. And I think that that's what I like about this is like it's the effort to make something out of the life. Like as I said like just a moment ago, you don't get celebrities who write their own books, and you don't get ones writing multiple ones, and they're not self-deprecating. They're usually relatively self-aggrandizing, and he's interesting because he understands his perspective. He writes out of that interesting perspective, insider outsider, and he seems to get the quote unquote character that he is both on the page, you know, and in life, and there's a kind of a neat transference of that. And that's kind of what makes it special. And you don't need like a big framework or a plot or anything. You can kind of just hang things together with that character as the engine for the book. Yeah. Because I mean, like, what else?
Exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, you can't really. Actually, can I read the blurb? I want to read the blurb for the show here. Because I'm curious. I mean, like, I haven't seen this blurb, but I'm going to guess that they say the book is about the Lords, is the plot, like taking the father to Lords.
It's mentioned in there, yeah. Even though it actually doesn't take up that much of the book
it doesn't,
in the end, which is really weird because that is the thing that always looms really largely in my mind when I think about this book, is that trip for some reason. And it's about, and I mean this is different for everybody, but like about fathers and sons or about parents.
I meant to bring that up as well.
And it really kind of resonated with me. It wasn't like my life was not like that, my dad was not like that, but like, you know, it is poignant and it's sad, and he goes to Lord's and the attendants, you know, undress his dad who's in a wheelchair by this stage and, you know, immerse him in this freezing cold water, and it's obviously really important to his dad. But again, you've got this kind of detached Rupert cracking jokes about it off on the sidelines. Yeah. But he's still there. He's still there. His dad who's not that well. Yeah. All that way. And I think, you know. Yeah. I like it.
There's a sweetness. Like he talks about, I think he summarizes them as the blind major and the German maid or mistress or something. And
yeah. I mean, it's like a carry-on film in a way. It's
really, really funny. Yeah.
But there is this sweetness there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you don't, and I think this is probably why I like it even more, it's not overblown in its sentimentality, and I think that's another thing that the real strength, you know.
Yeah, like I think I've said at some point that, you know, you don't have to sort of like force the issue with your writing, you know, like you just describe. I think I said to Mum, like, one of the things when we did Joan Didion that I like is how sparse it is and how spare, and you know, like when big things happen, you don't have to really go into it that much. It's like, you know, I think I used the line, Mum died on a Saturday, and it's like, you know, that resonates for people. Yeah. And he has a good I mean, he's a good writer. He has that writer's eye for like when to leave off. Like you don't have to push down on the accelerator and really drive this home.
He does.
I can just provide a scene and then I'm on to something else. And you know, and I think also the lack of consistency in the timeline, which never got confusing, but there is that hot cold thing going on between celebrity life and the tender real life, and like he does that kind of mixture quite well, back and forth. I'll just read the blurb real quick. Rupert Everett's first memoir, Red Carpets and Other Banana Skins, was an international bestseller and an instant classic on publication in 2006. Reviewers compared him to Evelyn Waugh, David Niven, Noel Coward, and Lord Byron. But Rupert Everett...
Can you even
how insane are these reviewers? I know, that's funny already. But Rupert Everett is, of course, one of a kind. Mischievous, touching, and nothing less than brilliant, this new memoir is filled with stories from childhood to the present, astonishing encounters, tragedy and comedy, vivid portraits of friends and rivals, razor-sharp observations of the celebrity circus from LA to London and beyond. There is something extraordinary on every page. A pilgrimage to Lourdes with his father is both hilarious and moving. A misguided step into reality TV goes horribly wrong. From New York to Moscow to Berlin to Phnom Penh, vanished years takes the reader on a wild and wonderful journey with a charming and rather disreputable companion. Oh, okay, so that's a good memoir. That's pretty a good blurb. Sorry.
That's
pretty accurate. Yeah.
But I did notice down here that praise for J.G.
J.G.
Ballard.
Ballard. My eye just went there.
I don't know, but maybe they're friends.
J.G. Ballard reviewed Red Carpets and Other Banana Skins in 2006. This is insane. Wise, quote from JG, wise, witty, bitchy, and generous. It's also hilariously funny.
So we're in good company.
Yeah, I can see JG writing that with his bull terrier down on the carpet.
That's
yeah. Well, do you have anything else you need to add about this one? Or no?
I mean, I like this book.
I like this book too. Good recommendation. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
I feel like that's not gonna find its way onto you.